Every day, you and I get bombarded with negative news. And just like our bodies becomes what we eat, our minds become the information that we consume. If you want to stay positive, it's so important that you also listen to stories that inspires you and uplifts you. In this podcast, we interview world-leading experts dedicated to solving the world's most pressing problems. And if you stick around, I promise you will not only be as informed as if you watch the news, you will feel uplifted, inspired, and have more positive energy in your life. Welcome to Great.com Talks with. Hi and welcome. Today Great.com talks with Daniel Sosland, who is the president of the Acadia Center. And if you haven't heard of them before, the Acadia Center is on a mission to advance bold, effective and equitable clean energy solutions for a livable climate and a stronger, more equitable economy. And if you haven't done so already, you definitely want to press subscribe, either on YouTube or in your podcast app, because today we're going to look at better solutions for our climate. And Daniel, thank you so much for coming on and talking with us today.
Well, thank you, Emil. It's great to be with you.
So how would you describe the Acadia Center to someone that is not familiar with your organization?
Sure. So we're a nonprofit organization that's focused on developing ideas to change the way government works and the way we regulate utilities, our energy and transportation systems, so they are oriented towards building a climate-safe future. And so we focus on a part of the country, the Northeast United States, sometimes worked in Eastern Canada, that part of the country. And we have people who research energy and transportation and pollution issues. We have people that think about how you take that research to propose changes in the way things are done. And then we work to implement those changes and make sure, say, that if we're trying to pivot from a system that supports polluting entities and we get something enacted, we make sure it works so that cleaner energy systems are actually being funded and supported. So we've been at this about 20 years, and there's been some notable accomplishments and changes out there that have been significant in reducing climate pollution and in creating more transparent and equitable energy processes that have been significant in this part of the country, which is about 22 million people, but also set examples for elsewhere, not only in the United States, but in other places.
Wow, that's highly important work. So could you give an example of one of those accomplishments that you have done, just to get an idea of what your work looks like in practice?
Sure. Well, one that I like is it combines a bunch of goals. Some years ago, we are in this region. We have a lot of electric and gas utilities. They buy power from power plants and serve customers, just like everywhere. And we really felt, along with others, that they were not investing in certain clean energy resources. So by that, you might say wind and solar, and that's true. But the one that I'll focus on is energy efficiency, which is an energy concept that sometimes people don't fully grasp, it seems. But if you have a building, a home, or the business that you work in, and it's not energy efficient, you're supplying energy to the building that's wasted. So if the insulation isn't good, if the lighting is inefficient, if the electric motors in an industrial plant are inefficient, you're wasting all the energy that otherwise would be saved by having efficient windows, efficient lighting, efficient motors. The way the market works, generally, people will go and buy the most cost-effective product. So let's say they want an air conditioner. They'll go and buy an air conditioner. And if the more efficient one is a little more expensive, they may not buy it. So there's all kinds of ways to invest and to support consumers in their choices so that they invest in more efficient equipment when they purchase it. Homes or buildings are built to more efficient standards. And when you do that, you reduce the amount of power that needs to be generated or consumed, to heat the home or to power the lights or whatever. That amount of wasted energy is enormous. And we overbuilt all over the world power plants to serve an inefficient amount of energy. So when you invest in energy efficiency, you make your building more comfortable, you reduce pollution, indoor air quality is better. So we created a program, a concept that caused the electric and gas utilities to switch their investments into supporting energy efficiency. And we created a stakeholder board so that regular people could go in and participate in developing these programs. And what happened is over a relatively short period of time, 3 to 4 to 5 times as much money started flowing into those programs as they did before. We have the largest reliance on energy efficiency as a resource in the United States in our region, and billions of dollars have been saved by consumers in not paying for more expensive power that wasn't needed. So the net result is across the board benefits for everybody: cleaner environment, better quality of buildings and homes, reduced pollution, and save money. So that's an overview. It gets complicated, but hopefully that's a bit of a picture of it.
It sounds straightforward to me. People like better climate and to save money. So combining those two seems like an excellent idea. So what are the challenges you're facing then when you're trying to get consumers to understand that, oh, okay, if I buy a more efficient equipment, then over time I will actually save money? Is it a communication challenge? Is it a legal challenge? Yeah.
Well, yeah, I think there's a bunch of challenges depending on which area of the problem solving you're facing. So one of the major challenges that we face, and it's not exclusive to this part of the United States, is the way we've built our energy system, and this is true of most places in the world. We've built them to create and distribute electricity, say, to everybody, which is a great goal. But that system is now supporting utilities that invest in the energy system in a way to make money for shareholders, as opposed to investing in changes in their system that will support clean energy or support consumers or address environmental equity problems, environmental justice concerns. So, for example, a company might make more money investing in creating a new natural gas pipeline than they would in energy efficiency or in helping a customer install a very efficient heating system. And when they can make more money because they're incentivized to do that, there's a misalignment between climate goals, clean energy goals, environmental justice goals, and where the utilities are incentivized to spend their money. We've got to change that. Billions of dollars are going into energy infrastructure choices, power plants, or distribution networks, lines and poles and pipelines that either aren't needed or aren't the best choice because there are clean energy, more consumer-friendly choices that don't produce the same rate of return. So when we get into the economics of all of this, it's very important to understand how the economics are driving bad decisions and therefore how the economics need to be changed so that good decisions are aligned with the climate goals that we've established.
Yeah, wow, that's highly important. So what is the role the Acadia Center is taking to speed up the transition and the process into these smarter choices?
Well, we do a bunch of things. One thing that we've done historically is we try to create what I'll call, for lack of a better term, a vision. Okay, how should the world look if we're succeeding? And we might look very long-term, much longer term than other entities in the system. So we might look 10 years down the road, 20 years down the road, and paint that picture out and then recommend ways to get there. What are the pathways to get there? So we've done that. Another thing that we do in conjunction with that, in a way, is we identify the barriers that exist that need to be changed, the barriers to progress. Once you identify those, you can come up with recommendations to change them, reform ideas, and you can bring people together around those reform ideas and excite them. When you have a solution, people get excited. We all know about problems. We want to fix problems. But the way to really get people excited, in my experience and Acadia Center's experience, is to excite them with a solution. We can do this. And oftentimes there are real solutions that can work. and they're either not well known or not identified or not proposed even. And when you identify solutions, you identify a pathway, you talk about and understand and sometimes calculate the benefits for consumers, for public health, for climate. People can rally around that, and then you can get some change happening. So those are the things we try to do here as we look to the future and under this urgency of addressing climate that we all face.
Mm. Well, then I'm excited to learn what are the pathways and solutions that you feel the most excited about to get to the vision of our future that, you describe.
Well, there's a lot of things we can do. We have 6 or so different pathways we're recommending. It's interesting because about 7 years ago, we first recommended this in a comprehensive approach, and it was fairly novel at the time, and now it's become, commonplace, which is great. It means everyone's embracing this idea. So one is to switch off fossil fuels. We have a lot of natural gas in our country, and you can switch to clean electricity alternatives to heat your home. Technologies exist to do that. They're cleaner. They're cheaper in the long run. They improve indoor air quality. You burn gas or oil in your home, heating oil. There's asthma problems. There's all kinds of problems that occur. So a pathway that shifts the building sector away from fossil fuels to clean electric is one pathway. A pathway that Europe has been ahead of on transportation is also shifting transportation off fossil fuels to electric vehicles and electrified mass transit. That's the second pathway. A third would be energy efficiency, to make our current buildings more efficient and make sure that the buildings we build now that will last 50 or 100 years are built to high efficiency standards. And that's all very possible and very doable as well. So you have the building sector. And a fourth pathway would be addressing how our energy system works. All over the world, we have electric utilities. Some are owned by investors, some are owned by the government, some are owned by cities. They need to be aligned with this future, and we need to change the way they're regulated so they are partners in this change and not fighting to invest in money that will, benefit the shareholders but not benefit the public. So there's changes we can make in our buildings, changes we can make in transportation, changes we can make in the energy system. Those are some of the key ones that come to mind.
Okay, it all seems very logical and doable. So from your point of view, what would you like for the average consumer to understand about future climate that they might not be aware of? What would you like to tell our audience?
Well, I think sometimes people interpret the climate problem as one that's so overwhelming, there's very little they can do about it. But the fact of the matter is they can support these changes. We can do this. We can solve this problem. That's actually one of the most exciting and yet frustrating parts of climate as an issue. We can solve the climate crisis with good technology and the right investments. And everyone can play a role in that. We can actually have, by and large, a healthier, more equitable society when you invest in the things that reduce climate pollution. You can have cleaner homes, you can have cleaner transportation, you can get away from a system where we marginalize communities because we build truck depots and we build shipyards that pollute near low-income communities, and all kinds of things can get better with this. So I would say the one message is we have solutions that work. They're available, the technology works, they're cost effective. We need more people to be aware of them and embrace them and support the idea that this has to happen and can happen.
So what can someone do to help spread the word to get more people engaged in this?
It's a really great question. And there are various things people can do. They can, it can range from in their community, they can support these changes at the local level. In their homes, when they make decisions about, as I said, air conditioning or heating systems or all that, they can, be aware that there are good alternatives available that are cleaner and will reduce their energy cost. And at the same time, they can talk about it with their children. And in fact, it's really younger people are educating older generations about not only the urgency of the problem, but that the solutions exist. So that's really exciting. And they can participate in local, community, or other political processes, whether it's in their town, their neighborhood, or their state. So it does take some activism, I think, to participate, and it takes some education. But there's such a wide range of things people can do. And we've seen people who have been volunteers for different organizations get so excited about the potential for change that they actually change their jobs and become... So you can do that too. You can get a job with an environmental group working on climate change. But really, there's a growing movement and at least in the United States, a growing sense that this is an issue that's affecting everybody that has to be addressed. We don't have a choice. We can address it, and we can partner together, and we can do it right. And we'll have I know it sounds overly optimistic, but I totally believe this, a cleaner, healthier, more just society as a result. And everyone can find a way through organizations, through neighbors, through, decisions they make to participate in that.
Beautiful. What can someone do to keep up to date with Acadia Center?
We have a website and we have a newsletter that goes out monthly, and I'd invite anyone who wants to check it out. It's acadiacenter.org. We're one of a number of groups around the United States that works at the regional level, and sometimes cooperate together. And it's a really interesting role to play because we're close enough to our states and communities to know the people and make a difference. But groups like mine have the ability to really be able to work through problems and propose solutions at the same time. So we have that, and we have an email list, and it'd be great if people are interested. They can contact us too at an email address on there. I think it's info@acadiacenter.org, and see our materials and reports, and see what they think.
Beautiful. Daniel, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with us today.
Thank you, Emil. It's been great. I really enjoyed it. Thanks for inviting me.
That's great. And for you listening, if you enjoyed this episode, press subscribe, either on YouTube or in your podcast app, because that way it will spread to more people that then can learn how we can work together for a better climate. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you in the next episode. What is great.com? That is the most common question that we get. And the shortest answer I can give you is that we are a company that is moving money from the online casino industry and donates it to charities that is helping the environment. The long answer, unfortunately, I don't have time to tell you today. But if you're curious, definitely Google what is great.com to learn more.